Hey, everybody, it's Thursday, which is like Friday Junior, and it's a thing. Friday Junior. I talked to Giancarlo. He told me it was a thing, and I've adopted it. So tomorrow's Friday. Today's Friday Junior, and we're getting into stuff and things. Before we talk about just about anything else, I want to press go live on Instagram. Yeah, I see I've been stalling. I wanted to make sure the technology was ready. And then I get to put this song on and share with you the Suno intro. Bryce, it's not really an intro. It's just a song I told it to make.
Speeding down the road like a bullet from a gun, thought you were invincible, but you're not the only one racing through life, leaving safety behind. But you ain't the king of the road, you're just out of your mind, distracted on your phone, not a care in the world, blinded by the screen like your vision's been unfurled. You think you're so important, can't leave it all alone, but your bloody life's at stake. Just hang up that damn phone. Highway havoc, I've had enough. It's time to wake up. Get your act together. Tough, aggressive drivers weaving in and out. This ain't no video game. This is what it's about.
It does not cease to impress me, this magical AI stuff where you punch in a few words and that comes out. That's a computer. Anyway, I'm sure one day this is gonna be like, who's this guy I found on YouTube that was impressed that a computer made a song when I have it making me breakfast? Anyway, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day. If you're watching, you know where we are. But if you want to know where else we are, we're up here on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and of course, X, formerly known as Twitter. If you're on that magical X Twitter business, you know you can ask questions, right? A few people have delved into the chat and actually asked questions from that platform. We have people, hundreds of people who watch live and in the replays, but you can ask questions live. Your questions will show up on screen because that works. For the longest time, it didn't. Told people for 2 years, doesn't work. Now it works. Now people are like, what do you mean it works? Are you sure? Try it. Send a message. Tell me hello. Tell me where you're from. We'd love to hear from you. Now, if you can't watch live, you can watch it on all the platforms. The post is there. You can always watch it. But if you want to watch it, that's great. If you don't have time to watch it, you want to listen to it while you're driving a car, watching it could be not only expensive because you could burn your data, not everybody has unlimited data, but it's illegal to watch a screen and have it visible to you. But if you're listening to it on your podcast app, you save your data and you're not breaking the law. Just saying. You can do that. So if you're on Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, a whole bunch of other ones, just go to ASKaTrafficCop.ca. You can get links to it, download it, synchronize it, be a follower. And if you're not already following us, like you're just watching it because you happen to come across this channel, and we get thousands and tens of thousands of views on our YouTube channel, but not everybody follows us. So if you're watching on YouTube, please actually follow us and share us with your friends, because that brings more people to the party. And when there's more people in the party, we get a diverse set of questions instead of always asking about tint, underglow, and how much you can legally speed. Sorry, if those were your questions that you were going to ask today, I beat you to it. We do have a lot of repeat questions, but we also get a lot of unique questions. So even if you think you've seen this show before, know that it's different every time, even if only a little bit. Yeah. Today we are talking to, maybe we start with hellos, because I see Akela Draconis in here with greetings and salutations. And, Stephen Bell is here. We've got a dad joke for later from Akela. And Stephen Bell, good morning to you too. This user says, you. I don't know if that's a greeting, if it's something mean, happy, sad, I don't know. Boy Mom 8424 says, good morning, Sean. Good morning to you. We've got good morning from Emma Carroll, who, by the way, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The first person I ever went live on TikTok with. I went live and I said, hey, anybody out there? And Emma was the person who jumped in. She was, I think, having a coffee or a drink on the back in her backyard, and we live streamed together. First time. I think it was first person. Maybe there was a 14-year-old who turned the app on and yelled in my ear. It was an interesting experience. And then first person actually be on camera. I think that was probably the order. In any case, we're glad to have you. I see Julie says, good morning, everyone. And Jotim Hataki says, hi. Cowboy, it's Cowboy Ka. I use what we call it. Is it Cowboy Canada? Good morning. And, okay. Let's see here. Scrolling. Okay, we see here, I'm going to scroll back because I've got a bunch of hellos, but now we're getting into questions. I don't want to get too far out of the questions and potentially miss on something. So let's flag. So actually, before we do that, let's hide this. I'm flagging questions, but I do want to talk to you first and not forget about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Yes, I talk about them every time. Yes, I will continue to do so because it's important. Now, what are they? Dedicated group of officers. They go out there and write tickets. I know, shocking, right? But they're not distracted by other things. Most police officers are dispatched by radio calls to go and respond to whatever you need. It's a car theft, a situation where there's domestic abuse, also a break and enter, whatever it is, they get sent to it. Vision Zero Enforcement Team doesn't. They are focused on traffic safety all the time. They are there to change driver behavior, and they're looking for people who commit and choose, because you don't do these things by accident, that you choose to behave this way. If you're speeding, driving aggressively, driving distracted, driving impaired, you chose to do it, and they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to write you a ticket. They might arrest you, depends on what you did, but they're out there not distracted by anything else. They're on a mission to make the road safer. Today, they are focused on that mission in 14 Division and 55 Division. We're talking neighborhoods like Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy, the beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, East York, neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play. And guess what? They deserve to be safe, as do you. But these people who are choosing to be reckless and dangerous or just selfish on the roads, they're going to talk to them. If you don't want to meet them, just don't break the law. So simple. People keep saying, you guys are just taking money from hardworking people. You might be hardworking, but when you choose to put other people's lives at risk, you don't deserve to keep the money. You deserve to give it to somebody else. And that money doesn't go to us. We don't get commission. There's no bonus. I have never had a free trip or a toaster given to me for writing a bunch of tickets. I get the satisfaction of knowing that I may have changed someone's behavior and possibly saved a life. That's why I do it, because I believe in traffic safety, and I know it can happen. We can aim for zero, and we may never get there, but we have to try, because one person losing a life, that's too many. Okay, we're going to get into questions. John frankly says there should be more cops on the 404 north of Bloomington. The speed limit is 110. I was going 115, and there's people just flying past me. I do the speed limit, and people are going Mach 10 past me. It's ridiculous how fast people go. And you're right, more police would be great. Sadly, we're busy. I mean, they're busy. All police officers are, like I was talking about the Vision Zero Enforcement Team, few are able to simply do one thing. And even the ones that are doing that one thing, they can only stop one or maybe two people at a time. So while we stop one person, the pack of people who are breaking the law keep going. And it's like fishing. You fish, but you can't catch all the fish. And hopefully you catch the appropriate fish that makes an appropriate impact, that tells their friends and so on, that the message gets out that breaking the law ain't cool. Maybe their insurance rate's coming up because they got a ticket. They tell a story. I've got I got to do a response video. I was sent by my friend from TURF, the Traffic Injury Research Foundation, a video on TikTok of a woman who got a ticket for cell phone use. They said they changed their song, whatever their story is, it's their story. And I'll share it with you. It's fantastic when I post this video. And she talks about what it actually cost her, like the $615, the suspension, the reinstatement fee. And her advice is just don't touch your phone. She learned the hard way. More police would be good. I think automated enforcement is the way to go, frankly. I think cameras everywhere, enforcement cameras everywhere would be awesome to actually slow people down. Let's see here. Nosoyo says, hi, I just want to ask you, what if somebody accused me of hitting his car with any proof of it? So if you were if there was no collision and the person says, hey, you just hit me, they've alleged that you've been in a collision, get their information. You can give them their information. You can call the police. Now for no damage, no injury, the police may not come. They're going to say, go to a collision reporting center. Go to the collision reporting center. They're going to photograph your vehicle, and that's going to establish the fact that nothing happened, right? You're going to give your statement of the events, and there'll be a record of it. But people make allegations. Some people think things happened. It doesn't mean they actually did, but sometimes it does. And everyone has to have some level of investigation when those allegations are made. Sometimes it's a scam. Totally, sometimes it's a scam. There are people who create collisions just to be able to milk insurance companies for money. There's people who are using, and this is actually really important. We're talking about carjacking. People will bump into your car gently, so you get out and go, "What the heck did you do?" And while you're busy, focused on talking to the driver, someone jumps in your car and drives away. So everything is serious. Everything's important. Don't be so quick to jump out of the car. Call police first. Be aware of your surroundings. If you do get out of your car, turn it off, lock the doors, and keep your keys, and be aware of your surroundings. Panic gets people flustered. That's panic, fluster, same thing. Not really the same thing. But anyway, moving on. We've got, did I say hi to Julie? Julie, I think I did say hi, but I said hello again. Let's go. We're scrolling down. Do cops, this is Keebs who wants to know, do cops pull people over just to talk to them? I've been pulled over 50 to 60 times just wondering. Keebs, to just talk? Like, I'm a sociable person, but I've never pulled someone over just to ask them how their day's going. I'm pulling someone over to investigate them, either for to ensure that they are licensed, insured, sober, that their car is safe. If they're suspicious, like I don't think that they're the licensed driver, the registered owner, what kind of car is it in your name? Like, there's so many questions that I have for you based on what you just said. So just to talk? No, there's always a reason as to why, because just pulling you over for, giggles is not appropriate, I'd say. I forgot to do something, so give me a second. I'm going to do the thing that I forgot to do, and that is to turn on the relay. Now, hopefully this doesn't break anything because everything seems to be working now. But we're going to turn relay mode on so the folks on YouTube can see all the questions. And I just turned it on, so hopefully we're still working. Anyway, everyone on YouTube should now, and on other panels, should be able to see the TikTok comments. Hopefully. Let me know if it works. All right. We've got, what's the rules with people walking in a crosswalk? When can you turn? This is a great question. So people get this confused a lot. There is a general misunderstanding that pedestrians can cross whenever and however they want. They're pedestrians. They have a belief, generally, and not all of them. Some of them are very courteous. Some pedestrians believe they just can do whatever they want, walk into the road, and everyone has to avoid hitting them. Now, really, you do have to avoid hitting them. But you don't always, not every situation is created where they have the right of way. That's the misunderstanding. They think they have the right of way. So if you are already committed to your turn, you're turning already, they're on the sidewalk, they haven't left the sidewalk, well, you're already in the turn. They have to wait. They have to yield to you. If they're, waiting to cross, they're looking both ways type thing, they're on the roadway now and you haven't initiated your turn, well, you have to yield to them. Now, let's say you're in a regular signalized intersection, you've got a crosswalk there, they're on your side of the road. They're in front of you. Obviously, you can't drive through them. That's not going to work. Someone did ask me about protesters and driving through them yesterday when I was on the Jerry Agar show. That was interesting. And no, I didn't give them permission to hit anybody. But you have to wait until they're past your side of the road. That's the general rule. You wait till they're past your side. You've yielded to them. They're no longer in your way. You continue past safely, being sure that nobody else is coming. If someone is on the other side of the road, approaching your half of the road, if they're well on that side, you can continue. If they're on your side or almost on your side, you wait. It's pretty basic concept. Now, here's the deal. That is for a crosswalk at a signalized intersection or where a stop sign is present. It changes if there's a crossing guard in that intersection working. If a crossing guard is there, you cannot cross that intersection until everybody is off the road. And if you're at a pedestrian crossover, regardless of there being a crossing guard or not, you have to wait until all persons are off the road. And that means they've completed all the way to the other side of the road and they're on the sidewalk or on the grass. People get this wrong a lot. I travel in the GTA all over the place on a regular basis, and I rarely see people stopping properly for pedestrian crossovers, especially. Like as soon as the pedestrians pass them, they're off to the races. They're going. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. If you have other questions stemming from that, let me know. We got Jacked Up to the Magnificent. Good morning from the metropolis of Bradford once again. Well, thank you very much. Good to see you again. We got Paul who says, hi all. Good morning, Sean. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. We already spoke to John Frankly. Good morning to Ryan, Thin White Line Interceptor. Good morning, Sean. Hope all is well. It is well. I got a great table behind me. I'm looking forward to upcoming episodes of TPS Traffic Jam. That'll be filmed sitting down. I did make the decision, though, that I'm going to stand up. It's more comfortable. My neck doesn't hurt. I get to look at all y'all and have access to my sound effects. That might have been a little loud. Just a little. Let's see here. What we got. A reminder to everyone to please use the letter Q in front of your question so I know that it's a question for me as opposed to dialogue amongst y'all. Very often people are chatting in the chat because that's what chat rooms are for, but I get stuck in conversations that really mean nothing to anybody else. Okay. How do you decide which car to pull over if multiple are committing violations? Some people just get lucky. It might be the first one I saw. If I noticed you, if I see a bunch of things happening, I'm looking at one thing at a time. If I have one vehicle that I confirm is the vehicle that I'm focused on, I may not be seeing what the other ones are doing. I'm looking at that vehicle. That's the one I'm pulling over. You could just be the lucky one, the first one, it could be it's whatever the case is. But there's no rule about it. It's whichever one I'm focused on. So people who want to be the second person in line speeding are still speeding and still eligible for a ticket. And sometimes stop everybody. I have stopped a row of traffic, not just a person or a single vehicle. But cool question. I don't know if I've had that question recently, but it is a good question. So thank you, buddy. Okay, we got. David says AI might sort a lot of this out somehow. Let's see. Any advice for reporting the Visa calls saying they were mystery charges? Here's the deal. If you receive a scam call, and we're dealing with a scam call currently occurring in the GTA where people are receiving calls from people who are claiming to be police officers. If someone calls you and says,
"Hi, I'm a police officer and I need your personal data,"
they're probably not a police officer. And more importantly, not only are they not a police officer, ask for the name and badge number. The call display might be a police number. And if it says 808 and a bunch of numbers, it might be programmed to look like a police station. Now, when we call you, very rarely will our number display. It'll say unknown number, and we'll identify. But we're not calling you to ask you for your banking information. We're asking you to come in to speak to an officer surrounding an investigation. Or maybe we're knocking on your door to say, hey, come on in. Now, I know you asked about Visa, but I'm giving you an example like this because it's happening right now. If you get one of these fake police calls, name and badge number, if it was a real police officer, the main number for the Toronto Police is 416-808-2222, or each division, like 31 Division is 808-3100. 32 Division is 808-3200. Get it? There's a scheme here. Go to tps.ca. You get all the numbers. And you call them back and you ask for that officer. Now, this is where I get to circle back to your question. If someone calls and it says their Visa, do what I do. No problem. I appreciate the heads up. I'm going to hang up now because I'm going to call the credit card company on the number on the back of my credit card. And that's it. You're either going to find out when you waste time waiting on hold that it was a fraudulent call, or it wasn't. And if it was an investment worth your time, because either way, you're either getting the right information confirmed that it's the appropriate source, or you avoided giving out any information. Anybody calls me from a credit card company, eBay, anything, and says, I just need you to tell me everything about your life, your name, your date of birth, your email address, your dog's favorite chew toy. If they're asking information, they obviously have no idea who you are. They called you. They should have all the information. They should not ask you to confirm anything. I think it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's that. Call the number on the back of your credit card if that is the situation. And the mystery charges, if there truly is a fraud on your card, that's what credit cards are wonderful for. You report it, and they investigate, and then you get your money back. Okay. I covered this, but yes, cowboy.ca. I'm adding .ca to your name. Maybe you need a domain name. Yeah, I'm not sitting there. I just found it uncomfortable to be there trying to manage the show from a sitting position. Neck hurt. Yeah, mostly. All right. You actually a cop, or do you do this? I'm actually a cop and I do this because I'm a cop. That's why it says Ask a Traffic Cop with PC Sean Shapiro. PC is police constable. That's what I am. I work for the Toronto Police Service. I work specifically at the Traffic Services Unit, which is a citywide unit of the Toronto Police Service, servicing the city for traffic investigations, Highway Traffic Act enforcement, and stuff and things of that nature. Yeah. But I am a police officer. I was injured on duty. I was in a motorcycle collision when I was a member of the motor squad. And since then, I can't actually go on the road. I can't go out and do what I used to do. I miss doing that. I really did enjoy being a police officer on the road. So now I'm someone who focuses on education and media relations. So not only do I speak to you, but I also speak to the greater media, being television, radio, and journalists who call me for information and educational reference on things they're working on, cases that are occurring, or just tips that they want to share with their audience. Either way, I'm available, and that's what I do. And this is a good time to say that if you're a podcaster, content creator, or journalist, and you want to work with me, go to TrafficCop.ca. You can click the button there, send me a message, and I'll be able to make contact outside of the show. But thank you to, you have a long name, username. I can't repeat that. But thank you for bringing up that question. It's a great segue into talking about other stuff and things. Okay, Maddie wants to talk about stuff. That's not to me. Okay. Can you pass a school bus with their lights on if you're having an emergency? No, you cannot. I don't know what kind of emergency you might be having. Your dog is hungry, you are hungry, you have to pee. But no, in fact, police cannot pass legally a school bus with their lights on and their stop bar out. It's not lawful. Not police, not fire, not ambulance. Nobody can pass. Now, we have lights and sirens to say, hey, we got somewhere to go. Could you please get the kids to a place of safety and turn off your stuff so we can legally go. Now, we may choose to ignore the law. I know, call me crazy. But if I know that there's someone who's at a school, God forbid, and they're doing bad things with their pew-pew, I know that the risk to them is greater than the risk of me taking a cautious thing as a police officer with lights and sirens going. So an officer may take it upon themselves to break the rules. They'd be entirely responsible for what happens next. They could be held accountable. They could be asked to articulate, and they could be held responsible from their supervisors, from external parties, but they may choose to take that risk in the interest of saving other lives. Your emergency doesn't give you any authority like that. So could you do it? If you did it, you could end up in a really, really bad place. And I appreciate emergencies make people do all sorts of things. So if you take matters in your own hand and something happens, like you hit someone, or you get a ticket, then own it and pay your ticket because you don't have the lawful authority. And neither does a police officer. All right. Moving. Josh says, good morning, Sean. Josh has become the unofficial producer and assistant to the show who's been letting people know things like, hey, although that message was left at 10:15, it's time-stamped, it's now 10:24, so we're about 9 minutes behind the time that you ask. So please ask only once. Please put the letter Q in front of the message so I know it's for me. But if I don't instantly respond to your question or comment, know that that's because I'm not going to. Many people get really frustrated. He's ignoring me. No, I'm not ignoring you. I'm reading in chronological order things that come in. Yeah. In a little while, I will be speaking about employment because I always speak about employment. I want to let people know exactly what's up. And what's up is we're hiring people. There's a bunch of job opportunities. If you've ever thought about becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service or a police service at any police service, anywhere, this is a good thing to talk about. Because you know what? It's a great job. It's a great organization. Also, I'm trying to avoid annoying Instagram folks who have another window that I have to look at specifically for them. I've been asked what I'm doing on next May 1st. Like on May 1st? Oh, Well, I'll be at the office probably. What is this? If driving and my phone hanged on the dashboard, can I use one finger to adjust my map? No, you cannot. Mounted phones do not allow you to whether it's mounted or not, you can't touch your phone other than to swipe to answer a call or hang up on a call. It's the only permissible interaction with the phone screen. And then you can look at a map. You can program it before you start driving, and then you can look at it. But that's the only thing you can do, mounted and looking in the GPS mode. IO says, hey, where can I ask questions? You just did. Now we're up to date on Instagram. And sadly, I can't put Instagram questions on screen. If you are on Instagram and you want more attention to be able to be famous, like when your screen icon and name and whatnot come up on screen, come over to YouTube, come over to TikTok. They will all support that. Instagram, the technology is not there apparently. Freshpot says, should we call 911 for non-emergency line for reckless driving? This is a question we've dealt with before, and it's a good question. If the driving that you are observing is putting people in immediate risk of serious injury or death, this is a judgment call for you to make. If the driving you're experiencing is putting people's lives at risk, and obviously speeding, listen, 20 over, 10 over, 15 over, these are all putting people at risk, but it's not a 911 call. You need to make that determination based on your beliefs. If they're all over the place weaving, maybe it's a medical emergency, maybe they're impaired, maybe they're on their phone, but the risk is going up. So, based on your interpretation of what you're seeing, you make the judgment call. A non-emergency line could take you 20 minutes. They may have been home sleeping by the time you get through. So that may not be, if it's truly urgent, it's 911. If you want to report them because they're just horrible drivers and you think they should be spoken to, well, if you have a dash cam, save it. And if you don't have a dash cam, you can always make a report at tps.ca if it's in Toronto. It's a different police service. They have different policies and procedures. But Toronto allows you to make a report of a driver or neighborhood issue, and you can do that online. And I see that Josh is saying reckless driving, 911. And Emma concurs. And I don't disagree. It just depends on what you think. If you think it meets the bar, it's 911. Okay. Are you allowed to drive fast if there's an emergency to the washroom? You know what? I've pulled people over for speeding. They say they have to poo. I pull them over. I take their information. I follow them to the closest washroom. I write their tickets while they're taking care of their business. But no, you do not get an exemption to go fast and put people's lives at risk because you have to go to the bathroom. Plan better. And there are people who have medical exemptions for things. Some people can't control their bladder. They either have diapers, and I'm not kidding, not trying to be funny, or they pull off and take care of it. But they monitor your driving. You're responsible for a car. You can be responsible for your bathroom business. Yeah. Okay. What do we do here? Scrolling back because a bunch of stuff just came in. And I love it when it's busy. It's great. We got lots of people watching. 71 people watching, it looks like, on TikTok. Twitter. Let me have a look. 40 on traffic services, 13 on Voice Over Cop. We have people on YouTube, 13. We have people on Twitch. Oddly enough, we have people on Facebook too. Hello to everybody who's watching on the various platforms. You know what I didn't do is I didn't go in to see who's watching on TikTok. Let me go on there because now I'm curious. I talked about one. Now I got to talk about the other one because otherwise they're going to be feeling left out. And this is a good time to remind people that if you're watching and you don't follow us, please follow us. Also, please share with your friends. Please tell your friends what we do here. And 92 people in the room on TikTok. Hello to the 92 of you. I'll just leave that up here. 89. Somebody left when I started. I pointed at. We're back up to 90. Either way, if you don't mind while you're there, smash the likes. Tap the screen. I'm tapping the screen from my Voice Over Cop account because that's my personal account. And I'm going to tap the screen and like the live. How many lives do we have? 2.7 thousand likes. That's amazing. Thank you very much for all those who are tapping the screen to show their love. All right, we're scrolling down because I scrolled too far back. Where are we? Hang on a second. Where we are is I didn't have my water on the table, and I need it. Okay. Water good. Drink water. Water. Where are we? Oh, Brandon's in Florida Keys still. Are you there for like the season? Are you working there? You've been in Florida for a while. Let's be safe and have an awesome day. I am jealous. I lived in Florida for 5 years. Love Florida. Shout out to Florida. If you're there with anybody else, tell them I missed them. Okay. Kelly C says, I love that you do this. And I thank you for that. I'm so glad that you find value in it and that you enjoy it. We're here to help. And then on the polar opposite of your comment, we have Bands who says, you paid to do nothing. Haha. I'm assuming it's haha. It's a cry happy emoji thing. No, I actually got paid to do a lot of things. And some would argue I don't get paid enough because I do things that nobody else does. Yeah, I'm good at it. But it's something that is far from nothing. I handle all aspects of social media, of content creation, of content moderation, and what else do I do? I create training content. I do research. I relay information to, parties like television, radio, and print journalists. I do a lot, and other policey stuff too. Sometimes I go for lunch. Not right now, but sometimes. Okay. Sorry, I have too much fun with the people who think they know stuff. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, so follow up from Buddy who says, so how do you decide which car to stop if several are speeding at the same time? I answered that already, to whichever one I'm looking at. I don't deliberate and go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't do it based on the color of the car. It's whichever one I'm looking at it. That's it. Let's see here. We talked about that. What is the tint limit? One of the most popular questions of all time, at least on our channel. And in Ontario, and it's going to be different for every jurisdiction, but in Ontario, you're looking at, for certification purposes, 30% light blockage is the maximum on the windows, left and right, directly left and right of the driver. And then nothing can be on the front windshield. The rear windows behind the driver, rear passenger, rear window, dark as you want, paint them solid if you want. The only caveat is you must have at least a single mirror to the rear that has a clear view to the rear. Without that, you're breaking the law. But there's more. More water is required first. And just thinking of a creator on TikTok that I really enjoy watching that I have not seen in a while because the algorithm, hides people I like watching. Don't ask me. But he would always say, first I must hydrate before I educate. And I like that. Okay. So if you have window tint on, regardless of the certification, because you met the 30%, which is not that dark, by the way. But if you have window tint on that prevents us from seeing inside, regardless of what the rating is. If I can't see you, I can't describe you, I can't see if you're wearing your seatbelt, I can't see anything what's going on, whether it's daytime or nighttime, that's a ticket for obscuring the interior of your motor vehicle. It's a $110 fine. Now, if you were to have such dark tint, and I've seen a lot of this on the road, that it is just, you can't see your hand on the other side of it. It's black. Well, that's more than just the obscuring ticket for $110. That's an unsafe motor vehicle. You would never have passed certification with that. Thus, we will seize your license plates and you would not drive away. You'd have to pay for a tow truck. That's a much more serious offense. Let's go to court and explain it. Yeah, that's basically the spiel about tint. What is this? What does the HTA say about the speed limit signs on the 400 on-ramp? Are they suggestions? So the HTA, for those who don't know, is the Highway Traffic Act. It refers to the document that basically sets forth all the laws dealing with the highway, and highway is any road in the province of Ontario. Every province has their own laws, so rules differ. In Ontario, the highway the ramps will have but orange signs for speed. Those are suggestions. They're based on what the engineer determined is the appropriate speed, and it tells you that in ideal conditions, this is the speed you go, or you might fall off of the road, because there's stuff in things like ice and grit and G-forces at work at certain speeds. So they based on things that they know that I don't know, but they don't. They tell you that's the speed. Is it enforceable? No. If you did more and you slid off the road, we would know you did more. And when the reconstruction team goes in and does skid, calculations, and they do a drag test to find out what what would have been appropriate to lose traction. Well, they can estimate based on skid marks and so much what your speed actually was. If your speedometer or computer doesn't actually just give us a number when we do a drag of that. But the deal is that the speed limits that are based on a white sign, those are regulated, those are enforceable. Yeah, stuff and things. Can I drive an Ontario car in Alberta for 2 months? Are you an Ontario driver registered in Ontario with an Ontario license and you are visiting Alberta for 2 months? Yeah, you're a visitor. If you're residing there for 2 months and working there, it gets muddy. Their rules may be different. In Ontario, if you are a resident here, you got a lease. You're not staying in a hotel. Like you're not visiting. You're here, and you're supposed to register your car here. But if you're not entering into an agreement where you're actually renting a place or buying a house or working here or going to school as a student, then you're not a resident. You're a visitor. 2 months is for most in Ontario. It's 30 days to change your license and 60 days to change your car's registration, which would be a pain if you were like visiting for a day longer than the requirements. If you can articulate what's going on, there are people who obviously don't do the transfer and do it for much longer. But you get into situations where you are actually, or very often, people are trying to do this to save money on insurance. And it's not usually Ontario going somewhere else. It's usually other places coming into Ontario. We see a lot of Quebec plates in Ontario because it's very low insurance there. So people do that. And it's fraud. It's fraud. And they get caught and bad things happen. All right. What happens when a police officer from a different country stops you and identifies themselves as a police officer? So a different country, like an American police officer comes to Canada and starts pulling people over and saying they're police officer. They're not a police officer here. They have no powers of police. They have no police authority here. In fact, my police authority ends in the province, at the border of the province of Ontario. If I go to Quebec or Alberta, I am not a police officer there. I'm a police officer in Ontario. And I might make a great witness, and I might be able to utilize my citizens' powers of arrest, which I would still have, as all citizens do, and I might be able to do that very effectively with a lot of understanding of how it works, where somebody else may not. But I'm not a police officer there. I don't have police powers there. And that's the same thing. Someone coming here and saying they're a police officer, hey, you can say you're a cop back home, but if they're identifying themselves as a police officer here and trying to do things, they can get in big trouble. I'd love to know the story that brought you to that question, though. Question from Rock Solid Home Inspection. Can I drive an ATV on a public roadway if I'm plated and insured also? Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you for the thank you. And the answer is depends. It depends on the jurisdiction that you want to operate it in. There are communities where you're allowed to use ATVs, and there's very specific rules and regulations around them, the maximum speeds permitted on the roads that they're on. But the deal is that it must be plated, it must be insured, and you must be a licensed driver with a G2 or better. I believe that is the only stipulation. But you have to know where you speak to the local police before you do anything, because the worst thing would be to get a ticket, right? Oh, worst thing to do is get hurt. But next to getting hurt, it would be getting ticketed. Okay. Oh, does the person going straight have the right of way even during an amber? So here's the deal on that. Going straight, you obviously have to slow and stop and do all that stuff for those lights. But if you ran an amber, would the person waiting to turn be responsible for the collision if they turned into your path? And the answer is yes. The person turning always has a responsibility to ensure they can complete that turn in safety. And assuming that you're going to stop does not ensure that you're going to stop. And if you have to wait until the light is red to clear the intersection, you do that because you're responsible. If the person runs the red, they can be charged for running the red, but you still turned in front of them and caused the collision. Crazy, right? I don't agree with all of these things, but that is the way it works. Let's see here. Side windows. Oh, other people are trying to answer the question. Cool. Moving along. Looking for cues. Looking for the letter Q. And there I get one. How much over the speed limit can you go? Can you go, or can you legally go without getting caught, or how much is legal? The answer is nothing. You're not allowed to legally exceed the posted speed limit. I will tell you from my personal experience, I never pulled anybody over for 1, 2, 3, 4 kilometers over the limit, because I accept that there is it is a difficult thing to stay right on the money, and most people's speedometers are probably calibrated incorrectly by a couple of kilometers. So it's not worth my time to stop someone for 1, 2, or 3 kilometers an hour. It's just silly. Realistically, I'm stopping people for 10 to 15 over and charging them. 20 over, I'm absolutely charging them. Sometimes it's possible to get or it was possible to get a hey, you should really slow down, talking to, and a goodbye without a charge. But more often than not, if I pulled you over, it's because I'm going to lay the charge. So you should not be speeding at all. And many people say, oh, 20 over, no big deal. Until you get pulled over for 20 over and you're charged. And guess what? When people say, well, I do 20 over all the time, it's no big deal. I've watched people absolutely sink themselves in court because they admit to speeding. They just say, well, I wasn't speeding that much, right? Well, speeding is speeding. The number of how many kilometers over the posted limit you are doing is only attributing the cost of the fine. Whether you are speeding 1 kilometer over or 20 kilometers over, the difference is points, but the conviction of speeding is still speeding. Your insurance still goes up. They don't care. They don't care about points. They care about a conviction for speeding. So you think, oh, it's only 5 over, no problem. I got no points, no big deal. I'll just pay the ticket. Well, your insurance is going up, my friend. Yeah. Here's a question from David, 123429. Do you think TikTok should be banned? I most certainly do not believe it should be banned. I think it's one of the most fantastic platforms, and I am endorsing it because I watch what it does. It allows us to get out and talk to you, and I think that's incredibly important. It's the most effective platform that we're on at getting out and talking to you, speaking to people of different ages, and TikTok isn't for kids. It's people of all ages using it. Are there issues? There's issues on all platforms. Yeah, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they all have issues. They all use your information to market to you. You are the product. If you think that social media is free, well, you may not be paying in cash, but you're giving up your personal information. The issue around TikTok primarily is, I think, very political and based in who's making money from what. But do I think they should be banned? I don't think so. But you know what? It doesn't matter what I think because I don't make those rules. I don't get a vote at those tables. But I do enjoy the app as a user, and I do enjoy creating content for you on the app. And now we're moving on. But thanks for asking the question. Let's see here. All these are questions. Oh, so people are actually doing what they're doing. Okay, cool. Why are cops exempt from using their phones and computers while on the road? Because we're cops. Because we're firefighters. Because we're emergency services workers, first responders. We are police people, fire people. I'm just going through a list to be over the top. Because we are 911. And we need to get information that is relevant to your safety and our safety. So because we need our tools to be able to conduct that work in a reasonable manner, we've been given exemptions under the Highway Traffic Act to allow us to do that. When you call 911, you want someone coming who has information before they get there. You don't want us pulling over reading that information. Now, granted, it is a risk to utilize any equipment, whether it be handheld communication device, two-way radio, which is a handheld communication device, but I figure I should mention it separately, cell phone, computer. These are all things that increase the risk to safety while we're doing it. And we use the utmost caution when doing it. But could it result in tragedy? Could it result in someone getting hurt, causing a collision? Yeah, it could. Do you know who's responsible when that happens? We are. The user who chose to do it, who articulated why they were doing it, they're still responsible, but we're given that ability to provide useful information. People say, well, you have a radio, use the radio. You can't always use the radio. Do you know how many officers are on the radio? Everyone's on the radio, and everyone has information at the same time that it needs to be disseminated. And sometimes it's a picture of a bad person that we're searching for. Or I shouldn't say bad person, maybe they're just misunderstood, but it's a person that we are looking for. Up-to-date information. Telephone number that even if we're using dictation like the Siri to dial the number for us, we still need that number. So it is a complicated situation. You know what the best is? If we had enough people, we could all drive with two, and one person could use the phone and information, and the other person would drive. But sadly, very often we are solo units responding to calls in multiple vehicles. But you know what? I get it. Someone being told you get a $615 fine for using your cell phone, but I just saw a cop pass me using their cell phone. They weren't ordering pizza, I assure you. None of them are stupid enough to order pizza. Because while I'm supposing they could do that, because you would never know, if something happened, guess who would be investigated up the wazoo? We have computer tracking. Everything is disclosable. We have GPS tracking on our vehicles. They know when we're speeding, when we're going slow, when our lights are activated, and everything's recorded. So, yeah. If you picture this, we get into a collision after ordering pizza on our phone, and our body camera tells our boss that reviews it that we want a double cheese. The reality is it's not worth it, and we wouldn't do it. Let's see here. Why do crossing guards escort adults across the street, no children with them? Crossing guards are guarding people crossing, not specifically children. They're there and they're being paid to do a job, and many of them are very passionate about it. By the way, shout out to the crossing guards. They do great work, and they keep our kids safe, and they keep adults safe too. Pedestrianing. I'm trying to make a new word here. It's dangerous out there. We got a lot of bozo drivers with their faces planted in a phone, right? Any help is good help, and I really do appreciate those who get out there and don't get the thanks they deserve. Crossing guards do good work. Okay, I want to answer this question, and then we're going to talk about employment for a few minutes. What happens if you run from a cop but they got your plate? Eric Cooper needs to know. Eric Cooper on Amazon? Are you at Amazon? If we have your plate and you run from us, you've just added a new charge to add to your charge list when we meet you at your house and put you in handcuffs, right? Like, running from the police has got to be the dumbest move a driver makes. Now, here's a tidbit. We have cameras everywhere. We usually get our person, especially once we get your plate. And very often, I've done my due diligence. I've run your plate. I know who you are. I pull up beside you. I verify that the picture on your driver's license is, in fact, the person behind the wheel. If you run, I don't need to chase you. I know where you live. Just saying. Yeah, we charge people all the time because people do really dumb stuff. Okay. They may not be dumb people, but they make dumb decisions sometimes. Quick little thing that I want to come back to, the comment that I flagged about stunt driving. We're going to talk about stunt driving in just a minute. But first we'll talk about careers. I need a jingle. We need a careers jingle. Maybe that's the next thing I do on Suno. If you go to www and then followed by the www, it's tps.ca/careers, you will come to this page and you will see smiling, happy people because they are working for Toronto Police. We are currently hiring for police constable, and that's what most people think of when they hear Toronto Police or OPP, Ontario Provincial Police, or York Regional Police. Police, right? Police is police officers. But there's so much more to policing. We have special constables. Those are the folks who handle court security, prisoner transportation. They handle different things in the community. They take statements, assist with police and canvassing. They do so many different things, and it's more than when I started as a court officer, just being a court officer. By the way, court officers, you're awesome. I miss you. I have so many great memories of being a court officer. It's where I got my start, along with being an auxiliary officer, which is actually where I truly joined the police service. First, I joined, was it in May? I joined as a auxiliary officer, and in November of the same year, I became a court officer. And some of my best friends and best memories come from those times. Anyway, parking enforcement officer, others unsung heroes who make our city safer through getting people off the road, leaving their cars. Can you imagine if there were no parking enforcement officers? The streets would just be littered by cars that people left because they needed a coffee and it was an emergency. Communications operator, currently hiring comms operators. Actually, let's go into this little linky here. Civilian roles. You may not want to be a member who wears a uniform, and you don't have to be, because you can still you contribute to the safety and well-being of your city by contributing as a member of the service, making change in helping people, just not wearing a uniform. So general counsel, you a lawyer? Know a lawyer? Know someone who might want to come work for us? They're looking for general counsel. Equity, inclusion, and human rights, a curriculum let me read that with equity, inclusion, and human rights curriculum specialist, a 1-year contract. Benefits coordinator, senior writer, corporate communications, special constable. Hey, I knew they were hiring. Did I say that earlier? Yippee program, communications operator, intermediate technical analyst, and developer in the digital team. These are all great opportunities. And here's the thing, 9 jobs posted. Let's look at special constable. If you click on that, it tells you what the job entails, tells you that shift work, that the pay range is from $78,964 to $94,21, depending on obviously what you qualify for. And then as you scroll through, you find out all the ins and outs of what is being looked at. If this looks like you, if this looks like something you'd like to do or know someone who'd like to do it, you should tell them about it, because you know what? The posting doesn't stay forever. We're not always hiring. We have the posting up until the posting comes down. This one, May 6th, it comes down. And then the process of identifying candidates for next steps comes into play. And then they interview them, and then they hire who they hire. And if you didn't apply, you don't get hired. You don't even get an interview. You have to apply. You got to play to be in the game. Is stunt driving still 150 on 110 highways? You guys are no fun. I was hoping that would be a surprise when people get pulled. No, okay. The deal is this. Stunt driving, and you can go see the links for yourself by going to TrafficCop.ca, is 40 kilometers over the posted speed limit in areas that have a speed limit under 80 kilometers an hour. They are 50 over the posted speed limit on areas that have a speed limit 80 or above. However, the third and usually ignored is 150 kilometers an hour anywhere is stunt driving. So yeah, if you do 40 over on a 110 road, you are still stunt driving and subject to all the joys and pleasures that are coming with stunt driving, which include 30-day driver's license suspension, 14-day vehicle impound. On conviction, you're looking at a $2,000 to $10,000 fine, a 1 to 3 year driving suspension or prohibition on your first conviction. Second conviction is looking at 3 to 10 years. Third conviction is looking for a lifetime. And of course, the bonus, the whipped cream on top with a cherry, you're eligible for up to 6 months of jail for each and every conviction. Which by the way, I don't think they do enough of. I think more people need to go to jail. Now, just because they're not getting the hint. They're not getting the hint. Even with everything I described, they're not getting the hint. They're not slowing down. People are still doing really dumb things behind the wheel. And people say, wow, technology is so much better. Cars should be allowed to go faster because they got better brakes and better steering and capabilities. And they just stick to the road like glue because technology, and they're safer because of roll cages and bumpers and airbag. You know what hasn't improved in all the years that I've been driving? Drivers. They suck. Now you ask people, are you a good driver? They go, yeah, but they're biased. They're rarely accurate. Rarely. Oh, well, what can you do? At the end of the day, we want everyone to be safe, and that means that people just need to do the right thing, follow the rules. They're there for a reason. Truly, truly, we're there for a reason. All right, I'm trying to scroll back so I can see this comment, so I can continue in chronological order. And I think I'm almost there. There we are. All right. Ice Wine laughed. For an epic comment. We appreciate you. Okay. This one repeated their question. Now, I am way behind because these questions that I'm reading now were submitted at 21 minutes after 10. So, we're obviously not going to get to everybody, so I apologize. I'm going to try and get through as many as possible, but I have someone who's joining me in the office in 35 minutes for the continuation of a meeting, so I'll go as long as I can, but when they arrive, I will have to say goodbye. All right. So, is it T. Susan Toro? To Susanna Toro? So I can't pronounce this. I'm not going to try and guess anymore. They think it's good that I'm no longer giving tickets because I'm not on the road. But you know what I do? I help train people who give tickets. Yes, I try and educate police officers and civilians to be more effective on the road, to give more tickets and change more behavior to make the road safer. So while I am no longer giving one ticket at a time, I am helping to teach people to give thousands of tickets on my behalf. So I guess I'm still giving tickets in a weird way. I never thought of it that way, but I really like it. Yeah. Okay. Ice Wine says, good for you. You give great advice always. Well, thank you very much. I try. We got here. P. Dunn says, so why do crossing guards only work on school days? They are hired because of schools, not everyone. They may not be hired for everyone, but it doesn't mean that they don't help everyone. They just do it during school hours when there's, a higher number of people. But are you suggesting that when they're out there being paid to help cross, they just sit there and watch you do it? They're there to do a job, and they're passionate about it. Don't give them a hard time. Okay. What is the time frame from having a DUI to going into type of law enforcement? DUI is a criminal. You have to be either pardoned. I think you have to be pardoned. If you have a conviction for DUI, yeah, I don't, it's not as clear cut as that. You really need to talk to a recruiter, and there are recruiters standing by. Okay, they may be busy, but contact a recruiter. That's an piece of information I don't have a clear answer for, but I believe that you cannot apply if you have a conviction for which a pardon has not been granted. I think that's kind of what it says on the website. Should I bother applying to be an officer if my brother has a criminal history? Mubs, here's the deal. I know many officers who have family members who made boo-boos. And it depends on what it is. It's a case-by-case basis. Do not count yourself out of the game just because your brother made some bad decisions. And now, if your brother's a hardened criminal, it's a problem, especially if you're best friends. But if your hardened criminal brother, and I'm assuming this is something minor and old, but if your brothers learned from their mistakes, maybe it's not such a big deal, but you need to check with the recruiter and have them look at your specific situation. And maybe you don't want to go through the process of, devoting your life to applying before you find out the answer to the question. So fork in the road, find out now. But I've heard of people who have been able to, get involved and become police officers, even though they've had family members that are estranged. Like, they were bad guys, but they're still bad guys, and we don't talk to them anymore. Kind of thing. It depends. Everything depends. Jacob says, if I got shot and need to go to the hospital, can I go past? If you got shot, call 911. An ambulance will come pick you up, provide you with life-saving medical attention that would probably make your odds of surviving all the way to the hospital better. So yeah, you can't legally pass a school bus. Even a police officer cannot legally pass a school bus. But you know what you should be doing if you get shot? Call 911. If you've been shot and you get into a car and start driving, I question where the injury was. Okay. Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. What do we got here? Somebody identifies as a clown. Okay. What's stunt driving? Stunt driving is a section of code under the Highway Traffic Act that depicts about 15 different offenses. So everything from speeding, which I outlined a few minutes ago, to wheelies on a motorcycle, drifting, driving or trying to get your wheels to come off, even if they're one or more. What else? Not being in the driver's seat. You decide it's fun to slide over to the passenger seat and see what happens. That's stunt driving. Driving with someone in the trunk of your car. There's a bunch of stuff. And they all have the same consequence or potential consequence. Can I T-bone someone when they cut me off? You mean intentionally hit them because they upset you and hurt your feelings? No, you can't. No. I get it. We become big children when somebody, hurts our feelings. Listen, if they cut you off and you have no way of avoiding a collision, and a collision occurs, well, they created a collision. They're unsafe. It was in the process of. But if they cut you off, and you, as a response for being upset, decide to hit them, you are the one responsible. I shouldn't have to tell people this. Okay. Oh, I got a ticket for over passenger, but should I dispute it since my friend was really hungry? There's never an excuse for anything, really. Uber Eats, heard of it? Yeah, you could have called somebody. You didn't need to put an extra person who was. I mean, that's fine. I appreciate your sense of humor, but no. If you're over passenger, how are you going to defend yourself? What is your defense other than trying to get a lesser sentence? So you can go there and say, hey, listen, I'm totally guilty, but I'd really like a reduction because I have no money. Well, they can talk about a payment program. They can talk about all sorts of things. They could choose to reduce the fine. That's up to them. That's a courts thing. I can't tell you what they're going to do because I don't know. But can you say, I did it, but I don't want the ticket or I don't want to pay it? That's not how it works. You have to have a defense. And my friend was really hungry, isn't it? What is this? The rules around train crossings are all buses, including GO and YRT, etc., supposed to stop because I've been on several that don't stop. Yeah, they have to stop. They all have to stop. They have to open their doors. They have to look like it's. I believe it's all buses. Now, I've never driven a bus, but I have a friend who has several buses for their business, and they have to do that. And do you know why they have to do it? I looked into it, and if I remember correctly, it's so they can look and listen. It's to help hear, which I thought was shocking. And maybe I'm correct or incorrect, but I have a number of bus drivers in the audience. I always do. Confirm with me, please. Let me know. I believe that's what it is. All right. Estrella says, so yeah, didn't know that you could turn right on a red light. You didn't know? Or and that's okay. A lot of places don't allow it. And there's even discussion to no longer allow, like to change the law to prevent it from being here. Because you know what? There's a lot of people who get hit by cars because cars are so busy trying to get to where they're going that pedestrians don't have a chance to go. On the flip side, there are so many pedestrians who just don't give a crap and walk in front of cars that cars don't get to make right turns on reds because there's too many pedestrians who never look left and right to see that. Anyway, we need to bring back some community, some people being kind to one another and courteous. We're missing that. But yes, right turns on reds are permitted unless it's signed otherwise, unless it's prohibited by way of a sign, or if it's unsafe to do so. But someone called into the radio show yesterday and said, someone in front of me wouldn't make a right turn. I'm paraphrasing. Wouldn't make a right turn, and they held me up basically. They don't have to make a right turn. It's optional. They can choose to wait for a green if they think it's safer. That's their right. We talked about just stunt driving again. Question: do you know? Zart the Inhuman says, "Do you know what 40% of the cops do? Work." Is that what you're going to say? But maybe that's 80% of the cops or 90% of the cops. They're all working. I don't know what. I'm sure it's a zinger because I've heard from you before. But yeah, please tell me, what do you think they do? All right, moving on. Can a cop pull me over for not having insurance? Mardechai. Yes, they can. We can pull you over to just check if you have insurance, because there's this thing called the Compulsory Automobile Act, or Insurance Act, I should say. You have to have it. In fact, we charge you this great offense called drive no insurance, or permit no insurance, or permit driving. Whether you own the car and you let somebody else drive it, or you're the one driving it, it's a $5,000 to $25,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. And anyone who drives without insurance deserves to get the fine at the highest amount and the jail time, if I was in charge. But more often than not, I see people getting charged for about $2,500. Let's see here. Lots of people answering him in the chat. That's funny. Can I adjust the radio then? Can I look at the radio station? So this is in response to handheld communication. Yeah, you can touch your radio. It's part of your car. It has tactile buttons. Some of them have terrible menu systems that are a terrible distraction. You can be charged for careless driving for playing with your radio. If you're weaving all over the place, but hey, I was using the radio, that's an offense. It's not distracted driving under the handheld entertainment device, handheld communication device, or screen visible to driver sections. So it's careless driving, but it's still against the law if it's negatively impacting your ability to safely operate your motor vehicle. In what situation would a police officer not collect insurance from a driver in a collision? If they don't have insurance, if they don't have the form, maybe they forgot it at home, they might get charged for not having it, but otherwise we want that information. We don't say, nah, don't worry about insurance, this one's on me. No, we don't do that. I can't imagine any situation where we would not take that information. We ask for, and it's ingrained in us, license, ownership, and insurance. That's the starting point of any investigation when it comes to cars, even just pulling them over for anything. Let's see here. Thank you again to Josh, the unofficial producer of the channel, who reminds people of the magic of delay, which is right now I'm like 35 minutes behind schedule. Let's see here. Matt says it's going to be really busy on May 20th. Okay, due to the long weekend. Thank you for the keep of love. the lid the lid is good. It keeps me on the ground. Let's see here. Why is it people wondering about homeless? I can't speak to homeless. I don't know what's going on with the homeless situation. And it's the unhoused now. We got to get with the new language. But Suyog wants to know what's going on with it. We have a lot of people who are suffering, a lot of people who are unhoused, a lot of people dealing with mental health. I'm not up on what's going on. Like, I get the training, but I'm not on the ground dealing with that. My focus is on traffic, so I really can't speak to the efforts that are being taken, other than we have great people in the city trying to help people in all different areas. Okay. Moving along. Oh, you're going to like this one. What is the penalty for people on the insane scooters that do 90 kilometers an hour that do not stop for four-ways? So this is possibly my biggest, well, I got so many pet peeves. This is one of my pet peeves. Maybe I need to make a Suno song about people on insane scooters that do 90. They are motor vehicles. They are not qualified as e-kick scooters. They are, you put a seat on them, they're motorcycles, you stand up on them, they're motor vehicles. They are subject to license, ownership, and insurance. You need a license to operate them. And guess what? There is no specific license, but you need to have a license. You would need to have insurance, which you can't get on them. You would need to have a license plate and register it and safety it and have appropriate. There would be so many tickets that I would write you that I would run out of ink if I was doing it old-fashioned, and I'd put you in court because they are prohibited on the roads. They're just absolute. They're not just not permitted in Toronto. They're not permitted anywhere in the province. They're not legal for the road. Private property only, and they're unsafe. So I would charge you for everything I could possibly charge you for. And the four-way stop. And those the electric unicycles, same situation. They do 80, 90 kilometers an hour, some of them. But even if they did, 20 kilometers an hour, electric unicycles are prohibited on the road. Are laser jammers illegal? Yes, they are. Anything that prevents police from being able to measure and enforce speed limits are illegal. So jammers, radar detectors, laser detectors. People say, well, you can't do it's lasers, not. No, here it is. It meets the definition, absolutely. But I like that people still think that they need these. I don't understand why anyone allows them to be manufactured or sold. I think they should be absolutely prohibited everywhere because there's nothing that they do that is for a lawful purpose. It is so boneheads can break the law. And I mean that with love, boneheads. If you are trying to avoid detection, if you are trying, a jammer either sends a signal saying to us that you're doing a speed that you aren't doing or does not give us any speed. We still notice that you're speeding. We still pull you over. We still charge you. It don't matter. We're still going to investigate. And we have the search and seizure authority under the Highway Traffic Act where we can search the vehicle looking for said device, seize it, and then charge you for the $180 and 2 demerit points that come with that. So why do I talk about this? All these things do enable or help enable people to break the law and make the roads unsafe, which makes you bad. Bad people, bad. And I mean that with love. Because I don't know what to do anymore. When I talk about speeding, I talk about the risks, and people say, I got bend-bowl brakes, y'all, I'm good. No, people are misinformed. Okay. If I see someone under the influence, but they are currently parked, should I call 911? If they're inside of a motor vehicle and they are parked, call 911. You have someone who may decide to put it in gear in 5 seconds, and they're breaking the law just by being in the car. They're in care and control of a vehicle based on the old language, but they are absolutely in a situation that you have the ability to interfere and potentially save a life, theirs or someone else's. So, the right thing to do is call police. And don't feel guilty about it because you are helping people. People get all bent out of shape because they feel bad. Maybe they're having a hard time. They're going to have a harder time when they kill somebody. And that's what happens. Way too often. Hello from Brockville. And okay, we got some people who are shouting out to the church, and cool. Shout out to people who are loving life. Let's see here. Let's see what we got here. Charge. What's the charge for going to a takeover? Depends on what you're doing. Listen, you're party to do a criminal offense at that point. Depends on where it is. But criminal offense, it is being responded to in a criminal way. In York Region, they also have bylaws that are really steep, depending on whether you're attending. I don't know what the attending part. If you're participating, if you're helping close down roads, if you're helping to facilitate things, I think York has a $10,000 fine for businesses that host these things. Like they're not taking it. They're not taking it. They're done. Cowboy started a new job last week at Home Hardware Warehouse in Ontario and is really enjoying it. That's awesome. Glad to hear it. You know what? It's so good to enjoy what you do. If you hate what you do, it's a problem. I love what I do, so it's no problem. And if you are interested in something that, like, maybe you want to become a police officer, work for the service, just saying, just talking about employment. Okay. If I see someone doing stunning drive and I catch on my video, can I send them to police department? Yeah, if you have dash camera footage, you can certainly provide that to us. It does help with criminal investigations, and it is often criminal investigations and charges that we're laying. So yeah, absolutely, let us know. It's a thing. Stephen Bell says that he heard that things might be going to 130, 120, 130. The deal is that it's going to 110 in some stretches, but people will probably be doing 120 and 130 because they're doing 120 and 130 now. Yoga says, good morning. Good morning to you. Let's see here. Oh, is there any specific purpose for police motorbikes and pickup trucks? Yes, indeed. So the police bikes, a squad that I used to ride with, the motor squad, are responsible for so many specialized things, from calculated movements of transporting or facilitating moves of internationally protected persons. There is no better way to move around the city effectively and safely than on a motorcycle. We do very, very specialized work in that unit. So yes, we absolutely need motorcycles. You cannot get somewhere faster. And I don't mean top speed. I mean get somewhere through dense traffic in the need of having to go somewhere, whether it be to a shooting call or a collision investigation. When no one can move, motorcycles will get you there. And our officers are trained, I would argue, to be the best in the world. Yeah. I'm very, very proud of our motor squad. My family within a family here. Now, when you talk about other effective uses in Fort Lauderdale, where is it? It's in Florida. I went there. I can't think of it right now. They have police, fire, and ambulance on motorcycle because the first responder gets there first and starts providing life-saving first aid and whatnot to even people on the beach. What beach was it? Spring break. Where is Daytona Beach? Daytona Beach has fire and ambulance medics on motorcycle. It's freaking amazing. Yeah. And pickup trucks, we tow things. We haul heavy equipment. Here we have the commercial vehicle truck inspectors. They have weights, like scales that take out of the back that put under tires to weigh truck axles. So totally huge reasons to have them. And by the way, I fit better in them. What's the law about modifying your exhaust in Ontario? Depends on what you're doing. If you're making it illegal by way of no longer having a muffler that muffles, but you can make it high performance as long as it meets the requirements under the law. If you're creating too much noise, which is one of the biggest reasons people make the mods, is now you're eligible for an improper muffler because you've made it no longer muffle. You may be creating unnecessary noise, which is another situation. What is it? Cops almost have, literally have blacked out windows on almost all of their vehicles. Sean, good name, by the way. I don't know if that's correct. Maybe where you are, and maybe the law is permitting them to do it where they are. Like in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where was I recently? Anyway, they had a number of vehicles, completely blacked out cars. But I'm sure that they are permitted to do it in their jurisdiction. Well, we don't. There's no exemption for tint in Ontario, and police vehicles don't get tinted here, except now the windows that are regulated, windshield and windows left and right of the driver. Canine vehicles, they black out those cars in the back because the dog's there, and in the heat of the summer, they need to regulate those dogs' temperatures. They need to keep them safe. Getting them too hot could really hurt them. Trav says, I'll take the $110 fine every 6 months. I don't know what you're talking about. Which one? There's no context there. And because I'm like 45 minutes behind. So love the comment. No idea what you're talking about. And by the way, $110 fine, it actually may not be 110. If you get convicted, if you have charges for doing something and you say, I'm just going to do tint for 110, maybe you're talking about tint for $110 every 6 months because that's how often I get pulled over. But if I see you got a conviction and you haven't changed it, I'm going to give you a summons to court. And then the fine can go up to $500. So, no, it's not a good plan. It's not a subscription method. We talked about that. What's the speed limit in the HOV lane? The speed limit is the speed limit in every lane. It's all the same. It doesn't change. Just because you go on the left side, you don't get to go faster. In fact, as someone who uses the HOV lane, you should be considering the fact that, well, if everyone else is stopped, you should reduce your speed and go significantly under the speed limit. People go, what? Well, the answer is speed differential kills huge. Like it's, So the deal is that if everyone's doing 0 and you do 40, you hit someone and you have less significant injuries and, impending kaboom than if you were doing 100 or 130. 40. You go on YouTube and look at these things. Go look at these collisions. They are horrific because people just want to do the speed limit with dead traffic, with non-moving traffic. When I'm, as a police officer, traveling lights and sirens above stop traffic, I am trying to reduce the differential to no more than 30 or 40. Because if someone zigs when they should have zagged, didn't pay attention to the lights and sirens, oddly enough happens a lot, I go die. I don't need that. I need to get to where I'm going safely. It's called guaranteed arrival. So, Yoga, I'm sure that you weren't expecting this kind of response, and I'm not trying to target you. It's just, it's a thing I really believe in, is like, don't speed, and then additionally, don't abuse the HOV. So I use the HOV all the time, and I don't care if everyone is doing 150 in the right. If I'm in the HOV, I'm in the HOV, and I'm doing the speed limit, and someone wants to pass me, we'll talk. Tim Shallow, welcome to the party. You weren't that late. Scrolling through. Do I believe in the spirit of the law or the letter of the law? Both. I think sometimes both. Obviously, I don't condone breaking the letter of the law because it's the law. And the spirit of the law sometimes means that you need to have extra tickets. It really depends. I'm a hard ass, but I'm not a dumbass. So sometimes there's like, I'm not really worried about clear license plate covers. If I can read your plate, I've dealt with it. Is it letter of the law says it's against the law? Could I write you a ticket for it? Sure. Would I normally pull you over and say, hey, just so you know, that's against the law? I'm not giving you a ticket today for that, but someone else might. That's a situation where I spirit of the law. But if I couldn't read it, even if it was clear, because it was constructed in such a way that it, created an issue for those who were trying to read, well, then I'm going to give you a ticket. So I saw one a couple of days ago. I had my wife take a picture of the license plate. Clear license plate, but oddly enough, from certain angles, completely opaque. But when you got closer, it magically changed the angle because my viewing angle changed, and I could read the plate. I wanted a picture of that. I have a picture of it. I'm going to write a letter to the registered owner. But also, that's an illegal clear plate. It's designed with specific technology to prevent people from seeing it, especially cameras, because the angle of view for the cameras would have prevented them from seeing it. All right. Why do Canadian cops need to be so different than American cops? Because we're Canadian cops and not American cops, and there's different laws and different cultures and different everything. Like, it's not just geographic. They're different countries. And American cops have a way different perspective because the country they're policing has different laws, rights, and abilities. We're different because we're different. That's a very interesting question that I don't think anyone's ever asked before. So kudos to you for that. Okay. Cowboy says, I fell asleep. Thanks, Cowboy. I'm glad that I'm helping with nap time. Let's see here. Scrolling back. What's my salary around? If you go to the website, and you can see what your salary would be if you joined. Base salary for a first-class constable who's completed training and 4 years roughly experience is $109,000. Another police service in the GTA received a contract, apparently raising that over 5 years to $130,000. I don't know if that's accurate. That's what I've heard. So, yeah, base salary is about $109,000 right now. Vision says, tyrant cop do not care about citizens. Or tyrant cops, I forgot the S. Vision does not have very much vision, if you believe this. We are here to protect the citizens. We do this job to serve and protect. The belief that we are here not caring about, you're on the wrong team. You don't get it. We're actually here helping. If someone's giving you a hard time about what you're doing, you might want to reevaluate the choices you're making because you're probably contributing to things being worse, not better. We really do want to protect people, but we don't have a problem with people who don't break laws. This suggestion about being a tyrant, or the allegation, it's so inaccurate. I don't get it. If I tell you don't jaywalk, does that make me a tyrant? If I say don't speed, does that make me a tyrant? If you think so, you're just wrong. You don't get it, but that's okay. Let's see here. Okay. So Rocco says, why are we told to leave our keys by our front door? What about Section 494 of the Criminal Code of Canada? If you don't understand this, I get it. Most people misunderstood and they didn't get the whole picture. The media focused on one piece of advice: leave your keys near the front door, which is different than the advice we used to give. We used to say, hide your keys, put your keys far away from the front door, don't make it easy for people to break in. But that was before the trends changed. You see, bad people with pew-pews were coming into people's homes and are coming into people's homes and then violently taking those keys when they can't find them at the front door. They are going and dragging people out of bed in the middle of the night. And I am trying to scare you because it's actually happening. Criminals, not good people, want your stuff. The harder it is to get, they amp up the game, they still take your stuff. The difference is you get hurt and or unalived. I hate that I have to change my language for certain platforms. But the reality is we're about harm reduction. There is theft reduction. The basic criminal is going to try and do a quick snatch and grab. They're going to try and take your vehicle the easiest way possible. But there's some who just skip the dishes. They forget about that stuff. They're just going to go get the keys. High-end, super high-end cars, yeah, they're just going and trying to get the owner to provide all the information, and they're doing it with force. They're assaulting people. So yeah, you can arrest someone breaking into your house with citizens arrest powers. Good for you. You might get killed doing that, right? Like, it's a car. It's insured. We don't want people to steal things. We're not enabling criminals to do harm. We're trying to prevent them from harming you, and that's the big thing. But I appreciate the conversation, Rocco. I do. I'm not trying to. I hope you don't think that I'm being aggressive towards you. I just, so many people think this is a joke and think that the advice was incorrect when in fact it was great advice about keeping you safe. We're trying to get the criminals, but we don't want you to get hurt because that's the most important thing. You get a new car. It may not be the right car. It may not be the right color. It may not be the right feature set. It may cost you more because there's new interest rates. Listen, crime sucks for the victims. It really impacts society horribly. But we need to, find the bad guys. If you've heard anything, if you've got rumors, if there's reports, if you hear about stolen cars, if you get an inkling, report these. I can't say the words I want to use to say, but report these people. Let's get them caught. Let's let them spend the rest of their life in jail or as many years in jail as possible. Let's catch them. You know what? The police can't do it all, and they can't do it all alone. They need your help. So if you are watching and you know about crime, you are, this concept, we're not helping 5-0, we're no snitches. Well, you're just contributing to society being less good than it could be. We need to be working as a community, and we need to pressure and catch all the bad folk, the people who are breaking laws and taking advantage of you, making it so you pay more insurance, so you don't get cars for reasonable prices. Like, they're all contributing. It's all connected. And I'm going to stop talking about this before I talk myself into a tizzy. All right, moving along. I'm working back, so I've got some 11, 13 questions and comments here. Okay. OPS? What is OPS? I don't know what OPS is. What if the car comes with stock loud muffler? Then it's driving behavior that would determine. So if it's a legal muffler and it just happens to have some growl because it's a big 12-cylinder Lamborghini, if you don't redline it everywhere, you're probably not creating unnecessary noise. It may just sound really good when it's idling. It's all about what you're doing behind the wheel. Not every vehicle is going to get stopped because their vehicle is a little louder than another one. Driving behavior has a lot to do with it. What is this? Police only protect and serve the rich and their property? Not true. Not true at all. And again, your comment just goes to show that you don't know. We do great work for great people of all, categories, whether you're living in social assistance or you're living on the bridle path. People who are in need call the police and we answer the call. If you think that that's not accurate, you just don't know what's going on. But that's okay. People live in silos. They believe what they want to believe. Echo chambers from their friends who agree with them. All right. What's the process of becoming a motorcycle officer? It depends on where you go. Here, I had a unique on-ramp to motorcycle. I was a motorcycle rider when I joined the police as an auxiliary officer, and I was recruited to traffic as an auxiliary, and I was given police training as an auxiliary officer. And they were willing to invest in me, and it was great. I did a 4-day course. I was a full-M licensed rider at the time, and Bob's your uncle I was riding. Then when I became a police officer, because I had previous experience and came to traffic services, I got a message saying, hey, want to come back to motors? And I ended up taking a 2-week program because the training was way different and way harder. I went to a provincial training for 2 weeks to take my level 1. Then I took my level 2, which is a 1-week course, and level 3, which is a 1-week course. But those took years of training in between those before you can amp up. But it's practice, practice, practice. I've competed in rodeos. I've been part of the drill team. It is amazing. But it's practice, practice, and practice, and wanting. And I ride my own bike or rode my own bike. It's being dedicated. It's something you take pride in. And once you can get in to start, it's what you make of it. But best thing in the world was being a motor cop. Okay, quote from Michaela Draconis: "Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, which is only a problem if you are powerless." Andromeda opening quote. Okay. I like these quotes. I like all quotes. I can't like all quotes, but I like reading quotes. It's always interesting to take a little snippet from something. What do we got here? Talked about that. Okay, dad joke time. I think I only have one dad joke, so it's going to be a short business, and then maybe I'll play the song from the intro for an outro. Liam Neeson has saved his daughter in the Taken movie so many times that his next film should be called Taken for Granted. It's actually pretty funny. Terrifying concepts, though. The fact that people are taken, held hostage for whatever reason, truly, I mean, they make movies about it, but it is so, to be the families of people who have been victim. Like you look at Mexico, this whole kidnapping people is a big business, apparently. I read it in papers. What's going on overseas, horrible. So, my heart goes out to people as much as there was a joke made. Yeah, it's a little close to what's going on in the world right now. All right, I will leave you with this: drive safe, drive sober, park legally, and of course smile, because aside from the one person who doesn't like police, it looks good on you. Anyway, I'll leave you with the song that we started the show with, because I had so much fun listening to it.
Speeding down the road like a bullet from a gun, thought you were invincible, but you're not the only one racing through life, leaving safety behind. But you ain't the king of the road, you're just out of your mind, distracted on your phone, not a care in the world, blinded by the screen like your vision's been unfurled. You think you're so important, can't leave it all alone, but you're putting lives at stake, just hang up that damn phone. Highway havoc, I've had enough, it's time to wake up, get your act together, tough. Aggressive drivers, weaving in and out, this ain't no video game, this is what it's about. Highway havoc, I've had enough, it's time to wake up, get your act together, tough. Aggressive drivers, weaving in and out, but this ain't no video game, this is what it's about.
Take care, everybody.